on top of this, we have a lot of monitoring built both custom in-house, and we also have quite some seizable security partners, for example, Hypernative, that is constantly monitoring this. There's a bunch of folks
Buenas, bienvenido una vez
constantly
más
on
a mi
call and
canal.
so
Estamos
on.
transmitiendo en
And
vivo
I do
cómo funciona la Xaman Wallet
think that some of the amount of
con
FXRP we've seen flowing
FXRP,
in,
¿ok?
so
Así
we have
que vamos a
just a
escuchar
bit
eso.
over
Tenemos subtítulos,
120
habemos
million units of
subtítulos.
XRP coming in, is due to these huge security implications and our huge focus on security. So it's not yet another breach. It's a breach where we really made sure that it's secure and non-custodial. So that's why things take a while, but either you do it properly for the first time or you have to do it twice. And we have no intention of doing it twice.
Yeah, so connected to this, because I think, this is something that always confuses users at some point. When someone deposits XRP through Xaman, right? What's happening under the hood with the FLR smart accounts and everything to keep it non-custodial and safe? Especially if the market tanks or there is some sort of liquidation risk. Perhaps you can comment on that.
Yeah, so when somebody deposits something through their smart accounts or when they do any interaction, the first thing they do is they send a small transaction, small payment transaction on XRP Ledger. And in this transaction, they encode the intent they wish for it to happen on the other side, so on Flare chain. And the crucial part is that FDC, so Flare Data Connector, where all the validators agree on what they've seen on the XRP Ledger, constantly observes the operator address on the underlying XRP ledger, and then checks, okay, this specific XRPL address has sent that instruction. We bridge this over via FDC, and then the contracts in the Flare smart account system again check that this intent was properly breached. It was not made too late. It was made to the correct address. It was made from the correct address, and only then issue an intent that operates only on the account on Flare side that is associated with this XRPL account. So pretty much the whole bridging of both intent and F assets is secured by FDC, and constantly FDC is observing chain and checking what's happening somewhere. And as for what happens if there's a liquidation or something, that is actually not a problem. So we make sure that FXRP on Flare is always one-to-one collateralized with XRP on the XRP ledger. So we're not moving it anywhere. For every FXRP in existence currently on Flare, there is an XRP on XRP ledger that we know is there, and users can always redeem back to it. So it's never going out. We're just locking it for a future use when somebody wants to bridge back.
Perfect. This was a super clear explanation. I'm checking here some of the most frequently asked questions. I keep seeing some questions about if the infrastructure has been audited. I think that we have shared about this multiple times and by whom, and like we have a public link in which people can see all of the audits, right? So I'm not going to ask you about that, but perhaps you can share a few comments. But the real important thing for me, from what I gather here from the community, is questions about who governs all of these systems, and if Flare can change any sort of parameter, or if Xaman can freeze any account. Well, I guess that's for Pizza. And if there is any sort of upgrade risk.
Alperna, creo que sí, si puedes usar la Xaman en Europa, puedes usar este producto.
That is a crucial feature because we do plan to extend the system and offer much more opportunities. And this is all set up by the Flare governance. So again, the whole voting system that is enabled on Flare, this is how we change inflation. This is how we govern the network in general. As for audits, all the code we put out is externally audited and also internally audited. So we really made sure that those things are properly secure. And on the Xaman side, it's a non-custodial thing. So I believe that there is no way for anyone to go there, but I'm pretty sure Vice can opine on this.
Perfect. And well, I think that we have clarified a few things about, the underlying technology, how we are simplifying things, the security measures and the security guarantees that you can expect as an XRP holder if you're coming and, experience the yield via Xaman, essentially. So I want to move forward and talk with Pizza. we have, I think you have around 500 million XRP active just in the first weeks of 2026, which is quite impressive. So that means that there is a lot of value sitting in wallets. Is there anything in particular that those users actually have been asking for? So can anyone confirm that you guys can listen to me and everything is fine?
I mean, I can hear you just well.
Thank you. Let me check real quick here on the chats if we have any issues with Vitsa. I don't see any issue. So, Vitsa, are you with us? Can you confirm?
Ahí estamos al lado de Sara, Esmari y Flear Colombia, papá. Presente, in the house.
So, okay, you are back.
Hay que tomarle una foto a
The
esto.
last minute.
Okay, no worries. I was actually transitioning to ask you a few questions on the xaman side. I know I'm gonna repeat it, right? Because if I'm correct on the numbers, there is like 500 million XRP active just in the first weeks of 2026 in your platform, and that's a lot of value.
Tenemos subtítulos en español, señores. Vayan viendo los subtítulos. Cualquier cosa que vea interesante lo traduzco, pero ahí va.
Yeah, definitely, and that's I guess the reason why we're having this space. So, first, the way we measure this number is so if you just open your wallet, then we're not counting what's in wallets as active XRP, basically. And by the way, obviously we don't have access to any of these funds because it's non-custodial, so the keys stay on your device. It's just
hacemos lo que se puede, Sala. Vamos a tener un poquito de delay por la traducción, un poquito de retraso.
XRP that is in wallets, we actually, like the app actually signs a transaction for in a certain time frame, right? So if you have a whole bunch of account, let's say you have 10 accounts with 10K XRP in each one of them, and you don't touch them, we don't count the 100K grand total as active. If you use 2 accounts and you transact anything at all, that's 2 times 10. So then we count 20K XRP towards active XRP. So the 500 million XRP active in the first weeks of 26, that means that this is XRP that's in wallets that are actually being touched, actually being used. So these are active XRPL users and active XRPL wallets. That's not just people holding, that's people actually transacting. So, and that's an important metric to a chain, right? It's like you can't have like endless amounts of dormant capital because it doesn't really contribute to using the network. So for a very long time, the only thing we focused at, and the only thing we really considered, and the only thing we really felt was within reach of us contributing to the network and to the users and the users interacting with the network was active XRP. And then at some point it hit us that while we are catering everyone who's already active, there's a tremendous amount of dormant capital on the XRPL. So that's XRP that is in wallets. And we know that the specific R addresses with their certain balances are imported in xaman. We can't do anything with it, but we know they are users. And the amount of XRP in dormant wallets, so dormant capital in the XRPL, is several times the amount of active XRP. And we've never been catering to these people, and we never really understood or realized how we can help these users, what we can do for them to make it more interesting in this space, to actually give them a reason to use our app besides just keeping their funds safe. Because I mean that's what we do best, right? Just keeping your funds safe, making sure you can safely interact with the XRPL. And at some point, because people asked on social media, because people asked on support, because Flare was already doing your thing in this space, we realized that a lot of
Buenos días,
people
Crypto
who have
241.
dormant XRP, who have no intention to sell anytime soon or
Es
no
verdad.
intention to use it in the ecosystem, would actually benefit from a safe and reliable and trustworthy way to earn yield on their XRP, keeping it dormant basically, um, but earn some yield on it. At least make the XRP work for them while they're not touching it. And well, that's what we discussed at some point, as explained earlier in this space. We have no appetite to go multi-chain, as in, or multi-protocol. Multi-chain is fine, but not multi-protocol. We want to do one thing really well, which is everything and anything XRPL protocol. And Flare already ingests the state of the XRPL, right? So this setup with smart accounts is just, it's the best of both worlds. And I mean, as as we can see, like, we can actually build amazing things on it with little effort, actually.
Yes, sir. We can build amazing things. And like you mentioned, this is like the best of both worlds, right? We have put a lot of effort in explaining how that works and, having all the liquidity, all the programmability, the data, and all of that. But perhaps for people that are just curious now and they are wondering about the X app and how to get access to it and all of that, perhaps let's do a high level like walk us through the X app actually. Like if I open xaman right now, what do I see and what should I tap?
Right. So, I mean, you could argue that it's still relatively complex, but I think for a DeFi product, it is really simple, and that's what it should be, right? I want to be able to uh, basically, without any explanation, allow someone to make a simple, like, sample 10 XRP deposit and withdrawal. And while there is some more information and some terminology involved, that's basically what it is right now. So if you tap the X app in Zaman, you get some general
Ahí
stats
está
about
hablando
the
Win,
vault
el
and
creador
the
de
yield.
Xaman Wallet, ¿ok?
And then there are basically two big buttons. It's withdraw and deposit, and it should be as simple as that, right? So, let's say you're new, you open the X app, you check some of the stats, you decide to tap deposit. The default is at 10 XRP. That's the minimum. You tap request deposit. That's the intent we discussed, right? So this is a very small fee to initiate a deposit, to indicate that you are ready to deposit. You go through that. You basically get like a ticket, not to deposit into. Then you send your funds, and then you wait a couple of seconds, minutes. It doesn't take that long, and then you can see your balance, and it's done. And the interesting thing that we did here, so the crazy on a technological level, and also a blockchain abstraction and cross-chain level, Flare did was like come up with the smart accounts. Absolutely amazing. What we did is much simpler, actually, but for the first time ever, we injected a asset in your home screen view that does not natively live on the XRPL. It represents something you own, still self-custodial, on another network. So that's pretty crazy, right? So if you deposit your first XRP uh, uh, to your Flare Smart account, and it becomes FXRP on Flare, we show that balance on your home screen, aggregated in the list with XRPL assets. So to the end user, it is completely abstracted away that it is or is not natively on the XRPL, or the capital is working for you on another network. It's still in your balance list. You can see the live balance. You can see the live value. It counts towards your account worth. So the user still has the sense of having full control, because they do, because it's not in a vault or whatever they can't access. It's in a smart account that's fully based and accessible by them and them alone through messages they send from the XRPL. And basically the only thing that we do is help them sign that message and move the funds to the other to the smart account. So I'd say this is very convenient. There are some things we can optimize. Obviously, we can make it maybe even more simple, or maybe add some other features in the future they can do from the XRPL side on the Flare side through other operations on the smart account. But if you peel it all the way down, it's a deposit button, it's a withdrawal button, and it's just another line item at your home screen with a balance with something you own and you alone can access.
Amazing. So I would argue that based on your description, like you said, this is fairly simple for a DeFi product, right? And considering, the abstraction that is behind and all of that is like, really hard to achieve. Um, so let's talk perhaps about what happens after you deposit, right? Once my XRP is in the vault, how do I track my position? Is there a dashboard view that is showing the yield accrual, or something that you plan to show in the future? Or do I need to go elsewhere to verify? Um, Walk us through what the earnings visibility looks like today and where this is going.
Right. So this is one of the questions we actually got most in the first days, right? People, and I completely understand, and it's an omission that it isn't there yet. Um, we we should show a basically a real-time counter of your earnings, and we're adding that. So that's the very first thing that people are gonna see relatively soon, where we just show you what you have earned. So after your deposit, it might obviously take a little while before it catches up, right? Funds have to be deployed. Funds have to be like they have to start generating their first yield. Takes a little time to update, and then I don't know if there are people in this space who have used teleport before, for example, but it should just be a real-time counter where you can see the numbers update, even though it's very small. It's very like if you, on an incremental update basis, but you should just see your yield. What people already can do, and that's beautiful because all of this is public, right? These are public blockchains. These are public vaults. These are public DeFi contracts. So none of this is happening in some black box no one can see, and then magically at some point someone presses a button and there may or may not be yield. This is all public. So for the power users already, the XRPL side is fully visible on an XRPL blockchain explorer, and the Flare side is fully visible on Flare blockchain explorers and DeFi portals, because your smart account is yours. There is another account that you control through your XRPL signatures on a Flare network, and everything is fully transparent. So I'm no doubt developers on the Flare side as well will build great, easy ways to see it. You can already see it, and I think the same could or should even happen on the XRPL side with explorers, where they detect that something went into a smart account, and then through APIs or RPC on the Flare side, they can show exactly the same information because it's public on-chain information.
Yeah, I think that aspect is key. The fact that this is public on-chain information, anyone can verify, can see what's going on. But of course, many users, they just want to be comfortable, right, on the app and see everything there. And things will improve for sure. This is just the beginning, right? So let's talk perhaps about issues, right? Because this is normal. Like I mentioned before, this was a new deployment. It has a lot of moving pieces, like Philip mentioned. There was some sort of downtime at some point. And what was the feedback that drove those quick fixes, and how is it feeling right now?
Right now, it's very stable. So we had actually several issues in the past days, not even necessarily related to this launch, except for one thing where the X app just got so much traffic and calls to APIs and RPC to fetch balances and get vault state and everything. It just started like stacking up and queuing, and at some point it became sluggish, and then it became unreachable, which is the scaling issue, right? So that was an easy fix. The other troubles we had in the past days are completely unrelated to the Flare yield integration. It's simply because a our presence in the Middle East is running from a data center that actually went offline due to the recent tensions. So we had to reroute the traffic. Again, latency. Important thing here is that like funds are always safe. It's still self-custodial. You are still in control. We are basically just the user interface, right? And just be transparent, communicate, fix it as soon as you can, keep people posted. Yeah, transparency.
Transparency always. And speaking of that, are there any geo restrictions? How does that affect XRP holders around the world?
So we don't. I mean, again, self-custodial product, right? So anyone who can connect to a blockchain, anyone who can connect to an API, anyone who can reach the internet, can reach whatever is necessary to interact with your own funds on chain. Obviously, people have good reasons to use xaman and use our X app infrastructure because it's safe, it's convenient, it's trusted, it's an integrated experience, and we don't block anything on a geographical level, except the things that are already everything's going through Cloudflare. So you could argue Cloudflare is a single point of failure. And if there are certain security rules in the default Cloudflare rule set restricting access from anything, then people will have a hard time using X apps, for example. The app will still work if they can still reach the XRP ledger, if they can still reach public nodes, they can still access their funds. I know, for example, that Cloudflare blocks certain ISPs, like entire ISPs, entire net blocks, because they are very, very bad at handling abuse. They are known to host scammers, for example. I mean, if you happen to be on that network and you're their only client that isn't a scammer, you're gonna have a hard time using advanced features in our app, which is like an easy fix would be to just use a proper internet connection.
Yeah, I get it. And I think that a lot of people sometimes they kind of forget that self-custody also means like you're responsible for the things that you're doing with your funds and everything, right? So you should also you know, before you interacting with this person, you should know what are you going to do, right? And what are the restrictions in whatever place you're based.
Yeah,
But moving forward, yeah.
I want to address one more thing that is closely related to this question. So we get this question a lot, right? With or without the interaction with the Flare network, right? How safe am I to use Amon? What if? And this is actually an article in our help center that gets viewed a lot. It's like, what if Zaman ceases to exist tomorrow, right? What what are the plans? What's next? Are my funds still safe? Can I still access them? Which is a very good question. And the answer is yes. I mean, it won't be convenient because convenient is just to open the app. But it being self-custodial, the entire process being self-custodial, the fact that even your smart account is interacted with through signatures with your private key of your XRPL account. Like there's not another account, there's not some proprietary piece of infrastructure you don't have access to and that has to be called through our backend. All you need to interact with your funds on the XRPL, and technically all you need to interact with your funds on the Flare smart account side, is one signature with your secret key away.
Disculpe, tuve una llamada importante, urgente y tenía que tomarla, pero bueno, están ahí con los subtítulos, no, todo bien.
To create a solution to still access your funds. Of course, trust is again an issue, and trust is hard to gain and easy to lose. And you should never ever interact with something a developer built, importing your secret key if you don't 100% trust the developer and their procedures and their software. But even if we would cease to exist tomorrow, which is not going to happen, I promise that. But even if we would, then still you would not lose access to your funds on the XRPL nor on the Flare side. So the way this connects to geo restriction is that, like I mean, let's say worst case tomorrow, we would have no access to the internet anymore. Basically, there's a global geo restriction for our product. Then still,
para los que están llegando ahorita, estamos transmitiendo en vivo desde
to activate
X
their funds again.
lo que está pasando con Xaman Wallet.
Beauty of this system. I love it. Listen, I have like so many other questions that people in
Hola,
the
Adi, estoy
community have
transmitiendo en
asked
vivo en todas
around
las
Xaman,
plataformas, ¿oíste,
as you
Adi?
can imagine.
Y se
I
está
think we
grabando
cover
en YouTube,
by
en todas
far
las
all the
plataformas.
important things, right? And I do have to move forward and ask a few questions on the DeFi and risk side. So actually, a call to action for the people that are listening to this right now, because I know that this is a topic, the topic that comes next is something that a lot of you have been trying to digest, and there are different opinions, and that's all good. Like, we're here to provide you all the necessary information, and then you make an informed decision. But before moving into that, I wanted to ask Itza if there is any very important issue, topic, questions that I should cover in regards to the work being done right now with Xaman.
I think there's just one warning, and I mean, we probably sound like a broken record player by now, but it's still necessary. The amount of fake developers, fake support engineers, fake FLR and Zaman team members we've seen on social, on X, on Telegram, by email is absolutely insane. Like the current like times are heaven for scammers because there's AI and they can create fake support websites and accounts and they can just spin up 100 fake profiles in a jiffy. It's just be very careful. I've seen, for example, people asking a question and then or they have a problem. So for example, someone has a problem with their local Wi-Fi. All they needed to do would be to switch over to cellular to 5G and everything would be fine, right? So it's a local connectivity connection. They managed to get a post through on X and they ask something isn't loading or refreshing or what can I do? And you immediately see several fake Flare and Zaman developers, even with real profile pictures and names, telling people like, "Oh, that's no problem. You just have to do this and this. Just go here, and you can fix your account, and you'll be good to go." If you actually do that, at some point they're gonna scam you out of funds, gonna promise you like a fake NFT to get access again, and then ask you to exchange your entire balance. Hope that you miss it. They're gonna ask for your secret key. They're, like don't trust anyone unless you check twice or more often. So on the Zaman side, that's very easy. It's our in-app support. It's the only thing you can trust. Literally the only
Bueno,
thing.
eso es lo bueno de
If
la
you see
cartera de
me
Xaman, que
replying
todas
on
las
Twitter, don't trust
aplicaciones ahí
me
están
because I may
verificadas.
not
No
be
es
me, right?
como la
You may be
Bifrost que
going
tú
to
tienes que
a fake
poner
VC.
una
And same
dirección,
on the Flare side.
una dirección de
Check the
correo
right
en
channels,
el
check the right
buscador. Eso es
people.
importante.
And if someone is asking you to do anything, red flag, right? You should never have to enter anything anywhere. And definitely not your secret key. Just
Definitely not that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Twitter blipped again, but no. Just be very careful. Consider the probability that someone is a scammer before you consider something a trusted channel.
Yeah, I have to admit, of all the time that I've been in crypto, I've never seen scammers go after a project the way they do with Xaman, and now by extension, or for Flare as well. This is an issue, and of course, we're 24/7 alert and sharing information about how to stay protected and whatnot. We obviously are going to continue to do so, but ultimately, it is on people to follow the best practices that we are sharing, right? Like Bitsa just said, they have in-app support, and that's it, right? So, okay, moving forward now, I want to talk with Ethan from Upshift. Can you expand more on the Earn XRP receipt token? What exactly is that? How does that work? How does the Earn XRP vault
Esto es
actually make
importante. Van a
money?
hablar cómo
And
se
where
genera
does the yield
rendimientos en
come from?
XRP. ¿De dónde viene el
Sure.
rendimiento?
And here again, everyone. And Lisa, I think you explained Xaman very well. So, yeah, hopefully we can share more about Upshift here. On the Earn XRP side, as you mentioned, there is a receipt token when you deposit into the vault, which is called Earn XRP. This receipt token represents your deposit, and it also accrues, importantly, the yield that is earned in that vault. And so one question that's been coming up quite often is, is there anything for the depositors to claim? Is there anything for depositors to, claim outside of the initial deposit? And the answer is no. Primarily the yield accrues to the receipt token itself. So that's the number one first use case for Earn XRP as a token. The other thing which we've made sure of at Upshift is that our receipt tokens for any vault, not just the FLR XRP vault, they are composable, which means that Earn XRP can be used across the rest of DeFi. If you're more DeFi native, and what that means is that you can use it as a Lego block across protocols, across lending or dexes. So, for example, you can borrow against Earn XRP, or you could, if it was integrated into the lending protocol, you could borrow against Earn XRP and run your own yield generating strategy on those borrowed funds. So that's another critical piece here. So in summary, NXP is for you to track your position and your yield. And then secondly, NXP is another building block.
Todos los que están en este mundo desde el 2021 tienen una de otra forma un NFT. Eso era algo que pasaba antes siempre.
Well,
Todos
this is
caímos en
something
eso.
that people have been asking for quite a while. We have tried our best to explain it, but thank you so much, Eden, for sharing this again in a very clear way. And then let's talk about something that perhaps is a little bit controversial for some people, which are the fees, right? Some of them are claiming that it's steep. You have these deposit fees, or perhaps you have redemption fees, performance good, whatever. They don't know, right? Net yield, it seems that it ends up at the moment being around 2 or 3% for some of these folks. Can we break this down, and any chance they come down or up as TVL grows?
Yeah, good question. And again, a really, really common question that we've seen in the last week or so. So let me first lay out what the actual fees are. One, the performance fee is 10% currently, and this is a fee which is taken on any yield which is realized to the vault. Two, the platform fees. So these are operational fees, security costs for the ongoing maintenance of the vault, and this is currently at 1%. And then three, any withdrawals fees. So currently there's a standard withdrawal track, which is free, and that takes 24 hours. And then there is a instant withdrawal track if there's liquidity available in the vault, which currently charges 0.1% on fees. Now, all of this is traceable on chain. You can even, if you distrust the front end or you're seeing conflicting information, you can always check the smart contract of the vault to see for yourself what is the set performance fee or the set platform fee or the set instant redemption fee. And yeah, all of that is very transparent, and also you can see it on the Upshift front end as well, as mentioned. Another question which I've seen is, when are these fees actually charged? And I know a lot of depositors are probably worried that when they when they withdraw, they will see a massive fee at the end, which they were not expecting. And this is not the case. So what happens is the platform fee is charged once daily, and then the performance fee is charged whenever the yield is realized to the NAV of the vault. And so both of those fees you do not see when you withdraw. You see it in terms of the share price accrual every single day, or whenever the NAV of the vault is updated, which is, in the long run will be roughly daily. Currently, I think it's periodically across a few days. The only fee that you'll see on withdrawal is the instant redemption fee if you choose to go down that path. Otherwise, there are no other fees. And so hopefully that clears things up. And yeah, the final point I will make is that we've also seen questions, of course, about these fees in comparison to the actual yield being generated on the vault, which is around 3-4% currently. And what we would say, and I'm sure ClearStar will touch upon this as well, is that we are expecting that the vault APY will change over time. Obviously, in the short term, in the last week or so, APY has been on a bit of a bumpy road due to the fact that there's been so many deposits that come into the vault, 4x growth in 6 days or so, and all of those deposits need to be deployed into various positions. And so there's some volatility expected, which a lot of that, we've been through the worst of it, and it's beginning to settle now. But yeah, we're also expecting the discrepancy between the fee size and the APY size to resolve itself as well. And I'm sure ClearStar will touch upon that, when they speak later.
Yes, for sure. And you mentioned this already, but I just want to be super clear about this because we do have some users that are reporting that their FXRP balance is slowly ticking down, right? Losing, a very small fraction of FXRP per day or similar. What is the main issue behind this so people don't interpret this as a sort of loss or a bug?
Yeah, good question as well. So the change in the share price that users are seeing is related to the platform fee. So again, that is taken daily, and is taken on the deposits, the total deposits. And so users will see a small change in their FSRP.
Para los que están llegando ahorita, estamos transmitiendo en vivo la explicación y la entrevista que le están haciendo a Según de la Xaman Wallet con respecto a XRP, que nos está explicando cómo funciona el mecanismo.
Yeah, I think that this is the...
Go ahead, jump in here. There's an opportunity. I mean, listening to this, and we've received a question as well. There's an opportunity here for us as well to make this more clear to people, right? At the end of the day, there are different numbers, and some may go slightly down because of fees. While in the meantime, you also earn based on generated yield, which is or is not yet visible. I think we'll have to work like all of us combined to a way to give a proper projection of where
la
you're
W de winning
and basically
en
give
Bitcoin.
a preliminary net amount of all these different things combined, so people at least see that they're on track. And I don't have all the details yet, but these discussions are already happening, right? So we're gonna work on a way to make this more clear to users in the X app as well.
Yes, of course, because I imagine that this kind of situation happens because people perhaps are testing the waters, meaning that they are trying to get the yield, right, on xaman, and they check the next day and they see a small drop and they go crazy, right? They think, oh, no, this is a scam, this is all wrong. But you have to give time to this, right? And it's going to work. What about the withdrawal? How much time does that take? Is there any waiting period, and what are actually the steps, right? Because some people might be nervous about locked funds and all of that.
Yeah, of course, and also just to follow up on what Mr. said, absolutely something that we're looking at improving. We spoke about the X app. On the Upshift app itself, you can also track all the positions, and we're working on having the fees much clearer and the P&L much clearer on each position. So stay tuned for that. But on the withdrawal side of things, yeah, so as I explained, the withdrawal time is visible on chain on the smart contract and currently is set to 24 hours. If you check our front end, and I haven't confirmed on the xaman front end yet, but it may say the same thing. On our front end, it says 48 hours. And the reason for that is because there's a buffer of 24 hours, just in case any liquidity needs to be moved into the vault, any positions in the different strategies need to be unwound to facilitate the redemptions. But on a normal basis, redemption should take no more than 24 hours on the vault. And just to walk through the process, how it works is that you call a request redeem function on the vault, which essentially requests that your deposit position is put into like a transit period, and then it is unlocked after 24 hours to be processed and sent to your wallet. We offer that as a service. We have a script that processes all redemptions after the time lock, in this case 24 hours, is over, and that should send it directly to your wallet. If you want to process it yourself before our script gets to it, then you can do that yourself as well via the smart contract directly. Obviously, a major theme here is that these funds remain self-custodial. So, of course, you have full control here. But yeah, we do offer that service as well. So in summary, 24 hours with a slight buffer for any liquidity that needs to be moved into the vault. And then the control remains with you guys, the depositors, and you can process this claim yourself once the time lock is over.
Okay, and just to be super clear about the claiming part, this is not a manual thing, right? Everything is automatic.
Yeah, we send it automatically. We have a script that does it automatically. I'm just saying, if you want to do it manually, you can, because you have full control of your funds.
Perfect. This is a great point. Thank you so much, Ethan. I want to move forward now and talk with our friends at ClearStar. Because ClearStar, let's get started by this. ClearStar is a name that will likely be new to many XRP holders. So can you provide a brief introduction, the background and which assets do you create?
Yes, sure thing. Thank you for also having us in the space. For those of you who don't know, ClearStar is a risk curator. We're actually now, thanks to you guys depositing, we went from the 11th largest risk curator to 10th largest curator worldwide. And we're basically a curator that is based in Switzerland. And our whole philosophy is kind of rooted in Swiss culture, meaning that we really focus on precision, prudence, excellence, and risk management. Basically, to keep it simple, we bring institutional grade due diligence, monitoring, execution, etc. to decentralized markets.
Well, that sounds very interesting, to say the least. And can you walk us through where FXRP is actually deployed right now? Like which protocols on Flare, what types of positions, and can users verify all of this on chain?
Gracias. Aló, ¿me oyen a mí? Aló, aló, aló. ¿Me oyen? Bueno, a mí me oyen, pero creo que no oyen el... Es ex, ¿verdad? Que no se escucha.
That actually has been able to provide all of this information in the way you have seen this today, listen today, right? And final question, perhaps for all of our speakers today, is okay. I'm actually going to give you two alternatives. One alternative is to answer the question of where do you see XRP FI or XRP DeFi in 1 year, in 12 months? Or if you don't want to answer that or prefer to answer this other question, that's also fine, which is something that we might have missed. I think we did a good job at covering all the essential things, but you know, you never know if you're leaving something behind. And I want to make sure that you all have this space to share the most important thing. So let's get started with Philip.
Yeah, well, I'm an optimist, so I will take a look into the future. And as people say, predicting is hard, specifically about the future. But no, I think the next steps are pretty obvious from our side. So these smart accounts have been used to get a very, very condensed view of what you can do in XRP DeFi, so specifically to get yield. And the next iteration that we're planning to do will have an option for you to fully engage in DeFi from one chain to another without doing the shenanigans that I described in the beginning. So without having to create a new wallet, without having to get a new passphrase or anything like this, and while still having all this self-custody over your funds. So I think the future for XRP DeFi is definitely bright and hopefully user-friendly. I think that's how I understand it.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I was basically going to say the same. I'll make it a little bit more concrete. I think if the Flare team keeps on doing what they're doing, and one of those things is expanding the things you can do with smart accounts, right? So allowing to send messages and operations from the XRPL side to Flare and back to interactive way. And we keep on doing what we're doing, which is abstracting as many things away in a user-friendly interface, a trusted user-friendly interface for people to interact with those features. We're going to reach the point where it's still trusted, it's still self-custodial, it's still within the same ecosystem, but people don't have to worry where exactly they're interacting with. They can just go to one trusted place and interact. Despite the chain, the network, that their funds are, and they can trust that they can always access it. It's always there. They just don't have to go to different places, different wallets, and different protocols. Because every time there's friction, there's also the opportunity for people to decide they don't want it, for people to ask questions and get scammed, for people to actually question the future of this entire space, right? Is this the future of DeFi? Is this it? Can't be true, right?
Bienvenido a todos los que están llegando.
This is the next generation total abstraction where we can make things way easier, way more accessible, and just keep
also saying total extraction is something we've been looking for XRP for a while now. I mean, this market cap has increased like 80, 90 million. I think also coming up to 10 million holders. Globally, but yield has been nowhere near what those holders have wanted, and XRP has historically been fairly disconnected from the more liquid DeFi ecosystems like Ethereum or Flare. Given that we're on Flare, so the way I see it, by the end of this year, XRP Fi will be a lot more cross-chain, a lot more multi-protocol, and all of that is super structured and seamless for the user, whilst remaining very self-custodial and giving them full control over their funds. I think right now we're speaking about this vault, as if it's the second coming or something, and that's true. And this is an amazing vault. But by the end of the year, it should be a given that yield is obvious for XRP holders, as opposed to the major news of the year. So I really hope that XRP can be more connected down the line. Really hope that the receipt tokens for these vaults can be much more composable. Want to see earn XRP on lending protocols so that holders and depositors can interact fully across DeFi, and cross-chain as well.
Can I add one thing? That's basically summarizing what you just said, which I fully agree with. I think, just to go back to one of the things I said earlier during this space, I think the goal for the XRPL ecosystem would be, should be, will be, or basically now is, to turn dormant capital on chain into active capital without people having to worry about it, right? So there's a ton of idling capital on chain, and we can, as an ecosystem, we can make that work for our ecosystems while getting better from it in the process. I think all of this goes to making dormant capital work in the DeFi space, which is basically what you said. I completely agree with it.
And I hope that some of the exchanges are listening to this as well, because there is an opportunity for them as well. So, Nicholas, what would be your final words?
I think I agree wholly with what everyone else has been saying. Maybe a slightly different perspective, so I don't repeat what all the great points that everyone else has been saying. I think Flare, compared to some of the other DeFi protocols, is relatively young. XRP Fi has been around for, I think, for real, less than a year now, but it's already been growing like crazy. And I think it's also quite important to realize that as XRP Fi kind of matures, it will also become slightly more complex behind the scenes, and does require, a lot of parties to kind of work together, just like how we did now here, where we are working together with Upshift and Flare and xaman to kind of bring to retail users a very easy to onboard solution. Even from our side, when EarnXRP launched on xaman, the inflows have been actually a lot higher than expected, just because I think it was something that was also mentioned before. All that dormant capital is now kind of coming on chain and alive, just because the barriers to entries are a lot smaller. Instead of having to bridge and maybe approve and deploy everything and having all of this complex stuff, you have a one button click where you have multiple parties like Upshift, xaman, Flare, us, all working together to kind of bring this in a more easy manner. And if maybe also any of the listeners are kind of curious about it, I believe Flare and we also kind of wrote an article, an X article, that kind of shows how all of this is connected in order to bring Earn XRP to users in a simple manner. And I do think that this is a trend that we will continue to seeing, where reputable actors in XRP-Fi are going to be working together to give the best products available at the lowest friction possible to users.
Well, this is a nice way to end this space. It's been a little bit over 1 hour, guys. I want to first thank you all for joining us today. It was very informative, and I think that we're going to get some very nice clips. However, though, I'm kind of tempted. I want to see if I can put on the spot to our chief product officer, Philip, and ask for a little bit of alpha. Give us the good stuff.
Well, we've done one good thing, which is enable you to get one-click yield for your XRP. And obviously, the next easy, user-friendly solution that you should get is lending. So let's see when we and xaman and some of our partners can get you that.
Okay, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. I know that this has been a very interesting and exciting space. Lots of good pieces of information. And if I can ask for a favor from the people that are listening right now, is please share this space with others so that, we do spend a lot of time explaining the same thing one time after another. And then, sometimes people start spreading misinformation. And for us, it's like, why do I have to spend so much time combating the same thing that has been said? So you guys have an amazing opportunity to support us and to support yourself in advancing XRP-Fi in the right direction by just spreading the word and communicating the right information, all of which has been shared today during this space. So I would also invite you to follow FLR and follow Vitsa, follow Upshift and Clearstar, and, keep up to date with all the news and developments. All right, guys, I have to go now, but thank you so much to everyone who joined today. It was a wonderful space. Have a nice rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bueno, y con eso concluimos ¿cómo se llama? El AMM, las preguntas y las respuestas. Espero que les haya gustado lo de los subtítulos. Esa me la inventé ayer antes de terminar en las otras plataformas. Vamos a ver rapidito este video de cómo es. Ok, nos dieron un videito acá de cómo funciona xaman. Déjame mover aquí al botijas. Y es solamente para explicarles, los que tienen XRP en xaman, con un solo clic van a poder ya recibir esos ingresos o esos pequeños drops o recompensas, ¿verdad? En los protocolos de FLR directamente de la xaman sin que tu XRP se salga de tu cartera, ¿ok? Se bloquea el XRP en tu cartera, todo funciona en la xaman, no gasta, lo único bueno, no gastas gas en FLR, pero sí se quema el poquito XRP que utilizas para bloquear los XRP. Entonces aquí vamos a ver el videito rapidito cómo es y... Te metes acá, te metes en la xaman, ¿verdad? Te metes en depositar, colocas tus XRP, tiene que ser en batches de 10, como siempre hemos dicho, es más o menos tener unos 13 XRP. Después que los tengas en batch de 10, te verifican. Después pasas a la parte donde en unos minuticos se depositan los activos. Ya una vez que tienes los XRP, aceptas y ya vas a tener FXRP en la cartera de xaman, ¿verdad? Una vez que todo esto esté listo, vas a tener una aplicación dentro de la xaman para ganar rendimiento. Vas a ir a FLR XRP-Fi, le vas a dar depositar y ya ahí vas a poder poner tus XRP a que te den rendimientos, ¿verdad? Desde la xaman wallet. Es súper importante este nuevo protocolo. Entonces lo que vamos a estar haciendo ahorita, porque tengo, bueno, déjame despedirme acá. Bueno, muchachos, gracias y hasta la próxima. Vamos a volver ahorita con el mañanero, ¿ok? Vamos a volver el mañanero. Vamos a volver en un momento con el mañanero. Si quieres, vénganse a TikTok. Vamos a empezar nuestra mañana